dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
Life.
Oh no, let's go. You don't lie.
Oh, he goes right into it in that version.
Yes, he does. All right.
I thought we were going to get the 12-minute sermon there.
No.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Hey, everybody, Dave Floor and Jim Walsh in the studio here, and a little Prince to start things off with.
I think Joe is on the phone.
Joe is in the Joe Mobile, I believe. Joe, are you there?
I am the mobile mortgage unit.
All right. Joe, I know where you can find the lowest rates if you look.
On ndhfa.org.
There you go. That's where they're at today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you
Okay.
guys crack the threes?
Pardon?
Crack the twos, I mean? Did you guys crack the twos on the 30-year fix?
We have our rates on a 30-year fixed. Government loans are 2.85%. So
That's free. That's free.
that's free.
Yay.
It's almost free. Yep.
Almost. Not quite.
Okay.
I mean, the polls would kill for a margin of error of 2.85%.
Yeah. Yeah. Trump and Cruz and all those guys would love that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
If they had a poll that showed they were in the lead with like margin of error. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, yeah. Jim and Dave in studio. Joe on the road. Where are you right now, Joe?
I am in South Dakota.
You're in North Dakota. Okay.
Okay.
I'm in South Dakota.
You're in South
In
Dakota.
South Dakota. Oh, you sound like you're 20,000 leagues under the
It's really
sea.
the Dakota Housing Network today.
All right. We got it all covered. All the Dakotas are covered today.
We are truly an interstate production.
All right. Well, let's as usual. Let's look at the interest rates, Joe. Besides those low rates at North Dakota Housing, the Freddie Mac survey for the week ended today. The 30-year fixed rate firm. Now, this is the conventional rate. Our conventional rate at NDHFA is at 3.25. So this is for comparison's sake. Nationally, Freddie Mac survey for the weekend of today, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 3.66%. That is up from last week when they averaged 3.59%. And a year ago, the 30-year fixed was at 3.68. So we're below what we were a year ago. The first 15-year averaged 2.89, and last week it was at 2.85. So that's just slightly up. So rates are still good. Our buddy at MBS Highway, Barry Habib, his current position is carefully floating ahead of the jobs report on tomorrow on Friday. And Barry's talking about a big number coming out today or tomorrow. The Fed's favored measure of inflation, Joe, the personal consumption expenditure, the PCE, will be released. And they will be looking to see where that number is, the core year-over-year figure, what it's going to be, if it will.
I'm going to make a big prediction.
Okay.
It's going to be not significant.
And
It's going to be zero. I know the number doesn't come out as zero, but the idea is that we're going to see almost no inflation.
Yeah, it'll be the same, and it won't change a lick of any things. Yeah. Yeah, and they had Barry goes on to talk about initial jobless claims for the week ending last week was reported at 257,000. That was an increase of 9,000 from last week. But last week's number was the lowest it had been since 1973. That's 43 years ago for those that can add really fast. So the jobless number, very good number. So that good for the economy, I guess. But right now, Barry's saying mortgage bonds are moving within a very small window. He doesn't really see that they're going to make any big changes, and he's beginning the day carefully floating just in case bonds might move lower or higher, and that would move interest rates down a tick or two. So Barry's feeling confident that carefully float, but probably lock in if you're ready to go as usual. So let's see what else we got. I got a couple of things from Elliot. Let's see, what is he talked about? The Fed met yesterday, Joe. Did you know that?
Yeah, they had to change their language just a little bit, just to slightly increase the probability that they were going to raise the rates, right?
Yep. They were just hedging their wording, is what they're doing. Here's Elliot in response to that. He said, of late, the oil and equities have rallied. Oil prices have gone up. They're like in the 44, 46. So they've been rallying here in the last month, because they were down at like below $30 there for a while. So job growth has firmed. Dollar has weakened. Credit conditions have improved, but growth has slowed. Financial markets pegged the probability of a June Fed rate hike at just 19.6%. So to give themselves a realistic option of raising rates in June, the Fed had to boost that probability. And that's what they did today by subtly changing the wording of the post-meeting communique.
It was subtle, though.
It was subtle.
A subtle rewording.
Yes. So that's Elliot's take on it.
Who's the Fed doing that for, Dave? Do you know? Because, okay, you and I aren't fooled by that. And let's take a look at me. I'm an iPad. I'm an existence in an iPad world. Somebody told me that 5 o'clock happens twice in one day, so I looked for both 5s on the clock one time.
Okay.
And I'm not fooled by this. Who does the Fed think that they're putting this out there for to hedge the language for a rate raise in June?
The media.
The mainstream media.
The mainstream media, yes.
Mainstream media.
That's where we needed the flump bump right there.
Yeah.
There we go. Good response, Dave. I can't think of any. If this was a Seinfeld episode, we'd say, that's all for me, because I don't know what other high note we're going to have besides that response.
Yeah, that's where you're on stage, and you just drop the microphone. I'm done.
Who are these people?
Yeah. I think that's all it's for. They're covering their butts so they can raise the rate, and really it's just for the story for the media to put out there. That's all it is. So anyway.
Well, that's the only ones who are going to fight, because,
yeah.
Of course, the only time that you get the average Joe, no pun intended,
yeah,
to pay attention to the Fed announcement is if people think rates are going to rise. That's really insightful, because otherwise, if you said, same as usual, nothing's going to happen, I guess no one would pay attention to your news show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we got to take our first break. Going out with a little more Prince. Take me with you.
Take me with you
Prince
with
and the
Apollonia.
Currently, it's 43.
Super Talk 1270, home of the Bismarck Bobcats and high school sports. Listen online or anywhere on the Radio Pub app. Super Talk 1270.
Okay, we're back on the Dakota Housing Network. That's Prince. I want to be your lover. I'm not asking anybody that question.
Oh, okay.
Just my wife.
Oh,
that's
good,
it.
good.
Yeah, okay. Joe, Dave here. Joe is in the Joe Mobile. Jim's in studio.
Yeah.
Joe, do you like Prince? You a Prince guy?
I am a huge Prince fan.
I like myself.
I'm one of the fans that probably knew that he wrote a lot of the songs that nobody even knew he wrote. Like the Manic Monday song and
Bangles,
and
Sheena Easton
stuff, and but I even bought the Batman album.
Oh boy, yeah, you're a fan.
Remember the Batman soundtrack that he did? I even bought that back in 1991, was it?
Yeah.
That came out, that 1990, 1991.
Probably.
That movie came out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the.
I had been a big Prince fan. I'd see him once in a while. I lived in Minneapolis for a few years, and it was downtown down in the Phipps neighborhood is kind of where he was originally from, and he'd show up there once in a while, his entourage, and just love his Super Bowl performance was maybe one of the best TV events I'd ever seen, where he performed through the rain.
In the downpour, yep.
I mean, just amazing artist.
Yeah,
and, he's not trained, right? He has no kind of training in anything, and played how many 50 different instruments or something like that.
Oh, he played everything. I don't think there was anything he didn't play. Jim and I were just talking in the break that I saw him before I didn't even know who he was. I was in college. This was like 1979. And some friends of ours that were going to the U of M got tickets, and we went down. My roommate and I went down and visited him, and they had tickets. They didn't even know who he was. All they heard was, "Well, this guy, a good guy to go see," and they got tickets. He was doing a show at First Avenue in Minneapolis, and we had no idea who he was. And you walk in, and there's this guy with his band. They're all dressed up. He's in a trench coat, bikini briefs, and boots. And here's we're going, okay, well, who is this guy? And he got on stage.
A trench coat and bikini briefs.
Very entertaining.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like he was in somebody's bedroom and the husband came in, so he had to make a boat for it.
Yeah. Very entertaining. He ripped off some good guitar solos, and we thought, well, that was pretty good, But we had no idea who he was. This was before, I think his second album maybe had just come out, if it was even out. I mean, he was not Prince yet. He was just this guy from Minneapolis. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, he took off. A couple years later, he took off big time with 1999. So, yeah. So anyway, interesting. Okay, well, hey, I got a little, Joe, Jim, this couldn't get more ironic, okay? This came from the Kiplinger letter. A former tax court judge has been indicted for tax evasion. Diane Krupa, who was a judge for 11 years, and her husband, a self-employed lobbyist and consultant, are facing criminal charges for fraudulently claiming personal expenses and for obstructing 2 IRS audits. Among the items they're accused of deducting on Schedule C: exotic vacations, music lessons, home renovation costs, wine club fees, personal clothing and jewelry, Pilates classes, spa treatments, and massages. And on audit, they tried to cover up their misdeeds, according to the authorities. You don't make that stuff up, right? Okay. So anyway, let's talk a little mortgage stuff. Joe, did you have anything you wanted to throw out there today?
I saw a great article. Because I'm on the road in the mobile mortgage unit, I didn't bring it. I can't find it. It was the 7 things that still mystify home buyers about the home buying process. It was a great little article, and there was. So I encourage people to go look it up, because there are some of these things that, as much as things have changed for us in the industry, what we forget is that as much as it's changed for you, Dave, and as much as it's changed for me in the way that we do the business, the customer experience in terms of what their questions are and what they understand and don't understand about getting a home loan have largely remained the same.
Yeah.
Which goes to say that all of these education efforts by the government have really not worked.
It hasn't. It just doesn't make a difference to the consumer necessarily. They just want to know can I afford this place that I'm buying, that I would like to buy, and what do I have to bring to the table as far as money to get the deal done, and when am I going to be able to close? Right.
That's really what they care about, and typically, home ownership has become such it's become such a rite of passage that there isn't this idea that there's a pile of preparation required to get there, and so people really don't think about it or learn about it until they're there. So they're at the time where it's okay. I no longer want to be a renter and I want to be a homeowner, and and that to me is only getting, I don't want to say worse, but that trend is only becoming more that way as the internet becomes a stronger part of the buyer's life. Because even myself, I hear myself saying it. When I want to know about something, I'll say, I'll just look it up on the internet when I get closer to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so you've got home buyers saying the same thing. Hey, you know what? Should we start thinking about getting ready to be a home buyer? Should we go in and see a loan officer? Should we? You know what? We'll just we'll look it up on the internet when we get closer to the side.
Yeah.
And so we can put together all these great know before you home buyer awareness campaigns to the CFPB and HUD and all this stuff. But truthfully, it is. You look at the list of things that still mystify people about the home loan process, and it really comes down to people are going to need a strong relationship with somebody who will take the time to explain to them what's most important to them.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the things that you said. What people truly care about is their budget, how much money they're going to need, and what they have to do to get this, and being able to close on time.
And I would suspect,
really the big things.
when somebody decides to buy a house, they're going to look. Okay, I know a friend of mine's a realtor, or my mom or dad is friends with a realtor, or my friends over here bought a house last year, and this is who they use. Okay, I'm going to go to that person that I have some connection to. Same thing with the bank, the credit union. Wherever you're going to get your loan, it's probably because you've got a reference to go to, and that's who you choose, and you're relying on them to help you guide through this. And you can find out information on what it takes to buy a house. I mean, like you said, hey, just look it up on the internet, and it's all out there. It's easy to do, so you can educate yourself on the basics pretty quickly. But really, it comes down to those few things that they really care about once they get there. So, yeah.
If I were to talk to home buyers right now, and if I was, I haven't done a home buyer seminar in a long time, but if I was a loan officer, one of my loan officers, what I encourage my loan officers to talk about right now, if they're doing home buyer education, is to talk about the one thing I think that first-time home buyers really need to focus on is they really need to focus on the changes and understanding the changes to how student loans affect qualifying for a home right now.
Yeah.
There have been several changes that recently all the agencies have changed how they're calculating student debt into qualifying for a home loan.
Yes.
And it's a big deal. And almost none of the changes favor the borrower qualifying.
Yeah, because where that's at, I think that's a very good point to bring up, Joel. Right now, that where they're at is and you can tell me if this is consistent or not. But they're looking at you've got student loans out there. They're going to look at, for underwriting purposes, they're going to count it as the greater of like 1% of the loan balance that's out there, or what your actual payment is. Is that correct? And there's one other item too, I believe.
It changes from agency to agency, and you're exactly right. So, for example, Freddie will allow you to use the payment that's on the credit report.
Yeah.
Now, Fannie will not. Fannie, if it turns out you're in a payment, an income-based repayment plan, Fannie is going to make you use the 1%. So, like, you take 1% of the loan amount divided by 12.
Yeah.
Or the payment on the credit report, whichever's greater. And FHA just came out with, and I can't remember FHA. I think FHA's is the same as Fannie.
I think they lined up with Fannie. Yep. And for everybody to know, when we say Fannie and Freddie, we're looking at the underwriting system that comes from both of those entities. So, all right, we got to take a break. We're going out with maybe the most famous Prince song of all time, "When Doves Cry."
Currently, it's 43.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
All right, Prince in his pop mode here.
From the Paisley Park album, which was his stab at funky psychedelia.
Beatles stuff.
Yeah, it was almost like a funky Sgt. Pepper thing.
Sgt. Pepper, Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
Kind of thing from the Beach Boys, yeah. But Raspberry Beret, all right. We're back on the Dakota Housing Network. Dave Floor, Jim Walsh in studio, and in the Joe Mobile, looking for the lowest mortgage rates in the country, is Joe Sheehan, and he's down in South Dakota today. We got the Dakotas covered. Right, Joe?
Right.
All right.
That's right. There is no place I won't go looking for the lowest interest rate.
Oh, man. All right. Well, hey, Joe, we were just talking last segment about student loans. and the changes that were being made. Here's a little thing from our buddy Rob Chrisman, who writes a daily mortgage blog, and Rob has been in North Dakota. He was at our housing conference a couple of years ago. But Rob was writing in his blog here, I think it was like maybe last week, but he says, speaking of younger folks, which leads one to think about student debt, a recent and disturbing survey by the Student Loan Marketplace found 28% of respondents would agree to name their firstborn daughter Sally Mae in exchange for student loan debt forgiveness. And 40% of respondents said they would be willing to reduce their life expectancy by 1 year in exchange for having their student debt erased. Okay.
Yeah, it's that's a fun. It's fun. That's I know that's a tongue-in-cheek fun thing, but I think that we've been talking about the potential impact of student loans choking out or postponing the dream of home ownership for the millennial generation now for 5 years, Dave?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Since we've been on, I think.
And finally, the agencies are having to react to this economy. You have an economy that's anemic at best. You call it whatever kind of recovery you want. That if you're making money, if you have a job, and if you used to have a job, and you lost your job, and you have a job now, you're not making near what you used to make. If you are getting a job into the economy, you're probably not making what people used to make getting into that job. We're back at 2003 wages, and so many parts of it. We're underemployed. There are tons of people sitting. Although the labor participation rate is improving, it's not improving really fast enough to create consumer spending that's going to drive inflation. You've got the world is still deleveraging with negative interest rates, trying to force banks out there. I mean, there's no place to look for it. We have the highest unemployment rate. The unemployment rate still among men in their late 20s, mid to late 20s, is horrendous.
Yeah.
And now you've got the agencies. What the agencies are doing is they're writing their underwriting guidelines to respond to this. See, folks, what used to happen is the home loan industry was very optimistic if you went to college. The home loan industry looked at their risk models and they said, if you get out of college, you're going to get a job and you're going to do better. So you know what? We're not going to hold those student loan payments against you when we qualify you because we assume you're going to make more money.
Yeah,
we assume you have a brighter future ahead of you. We assume everything's going to be a bright, sunshiny day after you get your degree. And so we're not even going to worry about how these payments affect you today as long as they're deferred for a year. Because within 1 year, your future is going to look so bright, even Joe will wear shades.
Yeah, you've been working at this. You've been working at this company for 2 or 3 years or whatever it might be, and they're saying, "Hey, you're a college graduate. You've got the degree. You have the potential to move up." And we're looking at somewhat what your potential is. Not
is that as clear cut though as it used to be?
Well, that's what
I mean. Speaking as a recent college graduate, I can tell you it's not. And
that's what Joe's saying is they're adjusting to the reality of what's happening now. Is that people aren't necessarily getting out of college and getting that degree or that master's or whatever it might be. There's not a job waiting for you that is better than what you have or what it was 10 years ago or more.
Yeah.
So they're adjusting to that reality and changing their underwriting and being more strict with it because your earning potential isn't necessarily that much better.
In the short run, at least.
In the short run, at least. So
in the long run, perhaps.
Maybe,
hopefully, in the long run.
Yeah. And Joe, the other problem with this, you mentioned, wages are back to 2003 levels or they're not any better than that or even before that. But there was just an article out yesterday. Home prices are closing in on their 2006 peak. And this is from Black Knight Financial Services. The home price, average home price or home price index is up 27.5% from the 2012 price bottom at the $245,000. The price peak average home price in the United States reached $267,000 in 2006. So if you think about it, if the average wages in this country are the same as they were 15 years ago almost, but home prices are at their peak or close to it, there's a problem there.
Right. So the only reason why we're moving houses at all is because houses are still 10 years behind where they should be at with normal inflation from the 2006 peak.
Right.
So and beyond that, interest rates are almost free because you have housing agencies at 2.85% interest rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the only thing driving inflation in housing is the low interest rate. And so for the first time, and Jim is experiencing this, for the first time, our agencies, our housing agencies, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, they're saying for the first time they're expressing pessimism in their risk model for the first time about college graduates.
Right.
And they're saying we no longer are going to take the risk that your future is going to be better in the near term the way we used to.
Right.
And so we're going to assume that we have to account for your debt right away because we no longer believe that you're necessarily going to, in the short term, have a financial future that's going to outpace the debt that you took out to get that degree in the near future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal in terms of how new home buyers are going to experience it, but it's also a big deal in terms of what it says about what our major lending institutions believe about our young people's future.
Yeah.
And what they believe a college degree means now.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's a paradigm shift.
Yeah, they're basically saying, okay, you can qualify for this loan today based on, all your debt, and we're counting that student loan debt at the maximum it's going to be probably. And we're assuming that's the best it's going to get for you in the short term.
And that burden explains why somebody like Bernie Sanders is doing so well with this generation in terms of how they're running. And we're not making a political statement. We don't make political statements on this show. But when things impact the housing industry or how they reflect in the housing industry, it just goes to show that what the industry has been talking about, what the prognosticators have been saying for a while, what the economists have been talking about in terms of the future effect of student loan debt, it has now come to stay. I don't expect these guidelines to get any less resistant. If anything, I expect them to get more stringent on this exact group of people in the future.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think people are burned out or sick of capitalism per se, although there was that one article saying that millennials don't like capitalism. I think what they don't like it's more a rebellion against the status quo, the corruption, the crony capitalism. I don't think people today are any more anti-market than they've ever been. I think you have to define what you're talking about. You have to define your terms a little better, And they're against capitalism. Well, what does that mean? I mean, they're against, like, Enron. Well, yeah, okay, I can see that, but that's not the same as saying socialize everything.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think that a lot of the young people who are supporting Bernie Sanders are wanting socialism. I think that they're particularly supporting him in relationship to the one thing that he is clearer about than any other candidate, and that's the problem about how to finance college education. Yeah. And I think that has really rallied a whole vast variety of viewpoints in that age group around him, because their experience is they're leveraging their entire future, or it feels like they're leveraging a significant part of their future to get a college degree that the numbers, because believe me, Fannie and Freddie and FHA don't wake up in the morning and go, what we think we'll do? We'll rewrite the underwriting guidelines about student loans today. All in favor, say aye, and do it. No, these are advanced, calculated statistical models based on reams and volumes of research to calculate their risk base.
Right.
And what they're saying that the numbers are indicating that student loans are a problem, and that's being experienced by people that the financing of college education is a problem, and that's being experienced by young people, and they're voicing their opinion in terms of the politics this year, and you can see it.
Yeah. the idea was floated. I think actually President Obama floated the idea about we should pay for community college, I believe. And I think it was Tennessee that maybe started that they're paying for like a 2-year community college degree. The state will, but I think you're right. Bernie Sanders is just kind of taking that to the next level, and people have latched on to that.
Yep, and of course, those of us who have put a fair amount of study into economics and economy also understand that when you don't charge for something, when you don't have any kind of an individual investment on it, you tend to actually wind up devaluing the experience or devaluing something, and sometimes you water down its actual effectiveness in the market.
Yeah.
And so there's no easy answer. But in housing, student loans are now going to become not something we just talk about. They're going to be something that are truly impacting people we're working with at the banking level.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back on the Dakota Housing Network. We're going out with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band doing a little Purple Rain cover in tribute to Prince.
Currently, it's 46.
The home for ABC News at the top of the hour is Super Talk 1270.
Mommy, why has everybody got a bomb? Remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Back in the day with Wendy and Lisa and the whole gang there, the Revolution.
And the Revolution.
Yeah, man.
1999. Let's party like it's 1999 because that's about where the wage levels are compared inflation-wise is 1999.
That's all they can afford.
How apropos.
It wasn't what Prince meant when he wrote that song, but it's kind of appropriate. Okay. Dave Floor here and Jim Walsh in studio and in the Joe Mobile down in South Dakota today, Mr. Joe Sheehan. Say hi, Joe.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, Joe.
What's your favorite Prince song?
Okay, guys.
What's your favorite Prince song?
My favorite Prince song? I'd say Let's Go Crazy.
Mine would have to be Little Red Corvette.
Okay, Joe?
I'm with you, Jim, Little Red Corvette.
Little Red Corvette.
Little Red Corvette.
All right, well, we won't mention the lyrics. Jim and I were talking about the lyrics on that one on a break, and we won't bring that up.
She had a pocket full of something.
Something.
Not miracles.
And some of them were used. Okay, guys, I got a little test for you, just for a little fun here. Okay. Name me the younger versions of these animals or fish, okay? What's a deer? The younger version is what?
Fawn.
Fawn, okay.
Fawn.
Frog.
Tadpole.
Tadpole, very good, Joe. Lion.
Cub.
Cub. Okay, I'm going to get a little tougher now. Codfish.
Codling, I don't know.
Very good, codling.
Are you kidding?
Way to go,
I was
codling.
just trying to make a joke.
Jim was making a joke. He got it right. Okay.
Codpiece.
Now, if one of you gets this one, you're amazing. Oyster.
Oyster, I don't know.
No, doesn't work that time. Spat. S-P-A-T. That is a younger oyster.
Well, they kind of look like
spat.
a spat there,
All right.
Kind of gross looking.
And, Joe, Florida, they are building the world's first solar-powered town down in Florida.
Yeah.
They picked a good spot for that.
It took them this long?
Yeah. This is in Southwest Florida. Kitson and Partners unveiled their development of the world's first solar-powered town. It's going to be the phase one of the development will be completed in 2017, and we'll have 1,100 homes. After the whole development is completed, they expect about 50,000 people will be living there, comprising 19,500 residences. Downtown area, 6 million square feet of commercial and community space. They have a 443-acre solar power plant will be located in the town, and it's called Babcock Ranch. It will supply the community and surrounding areas with 74.5 megawatts of clean, renewable solar energy.
Now, when they say solar, they don't necessarily need the sun to be shining, right? My understanding is as long as there's daylight, they can store some energy out of that.
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because the sun, you're still getting.
We've talked about that, and I'll have to double-check my facts on that, but our tech guy, Marlo, who's here on Mondays,
sure,
he and I have talked about that a little bit in the past.
Well, you can ask him that question.
I will.
On Monday.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll listen then.
We'll just kind of tie everything together.
I'll try and listen.
It's very holistic.
So,
man.
I think this is, it's pretty interesting. I mean, if this works out and people go there and they live there and everything works just fine, something like this could certainly take off. They're already talking about solar power being, really coming on board in the next few years and really supplanting a lot of, in a lot of areas, it's going to be the main power source.
Well, I think it was a matter of making it bankable.
Sure. Yeah.
Trying to find a money model for it, business model for it, make money with it.
I think these guys, they said they've been working on this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Trying to do this in Florida. So they've been committed to it.
Monetizing.
Yep. So this Babcock Ranch Solar Energy Center, the CEO said, "Yeah, we've been working on this 10 years." So they're very committed to it.
I would have thought Epcot would be ahead of the curve on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They may have done some experimentation, you would think.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Joe, I've got, you talked about the 7 myths we were talking about earlier with home buyers and stuff. I did have one I brought in today that's kind of tied to this. It's 5 mistakes first-time home buyers make. And this comes from the guys on the TV show called $1 Million Listing. Okay,
I've seen that.
I haven't seen it.
I've seen it.
I've never seen it.
It's on the Bravo network, and the new season is here. It's out already. So anyway, the guy on there, let's see, Ryan Serhant, the top real estate agent, and he's the star of the show, or one of the stars.
How many first-time home buyers do you think he makes?
Well, I don't know. He's $1 Million Listing. If that's his show, I don't know. Is he spending any time with somebody buying a $100,000, $200,000 house? I don't know.
The first mistake they make is calling me because I only live in $1 million houses.
I'm sorry, I can't do that. And I'm looking. They have a picture here, and these guys they're pretty young. I'd say they're maybe 30 at the most. So I don't know. But anyway, here's his. So we can critique what he thinks the mistakes are. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So number 1, not knowing how much you can really afford. That's probably true in some cases. People think maybe I've saved some money for a down payment, and I'm going to go out and buy a house, and I start looking. Oh, I really like this one, and it's $400,000, but I only make $50,000. Well, no, you're not going to be able to do that.
Go shopping for what you like versus and then find out you can't afford it. I'd agree.
Yeah, and I think if we asked Greg Larson, our buddy here, the realtor, he probably say he's had a few instances of that. Okay, number 2, being inflexible. What he says is going in with a healthy offer and being flexible on closing terms can give you a leg up on some of the more inflexible offers a seller has gotten, especially if you're competing with all cash buyers, demanding move-in dates. You don't do that sort of stuff. I would agree with that.
I agree.
You want to be flexible. Okay. We got out of order here. Okay. Well, number 2 got cut off. Anyway, number 4, poor credit. Obviously, Joe, important factor in the loan application is, we got to look at the credit scores, right? And if you're not in the 600s, you're not going to probably have much luck.
Nope.
Nope.
And
Okay.
you're going to pay more. You're going to pay more if you're under 720.
Yep, you're going to pay more. It's going to cost you more, et cetera. So you really, before you go in, or you need to talk to somebody, a loan officer, and say, okay, here's what my credit score is. What am I looking at? And they could help you determine it. Okay, it's 680. And if you could bring that up to 720, here's the difference in the products we can offer you. So you need to do what you can to bring that up, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, they've got countering too many times, and we should actually have Greg in here for this, but Ryan states, during the negotiation process, if you've countered more than 5 times, it starts to get annoying for both sides, and the deal will kill itself just through mental exhaustion. Best thing to do is come in with an educated offer backed by comparable sales, and you don't have that big a gap to bridge. And so that's really, don't think just because a house has maybe been on the market for a while that you're going to get it cheaper or a lot cheaper, and don't lowball the offer necessarily. That's where that realtor really comes in handy for you, in that they'll know what is a fair offer to make on a house. So I agree with what he's saying here.
Yep.
He's $1 million lister. He's $1 million realtor, I guess. So
and go back to that countering. The other thing to remember is the negotiation isn't over with the purchase offer. Because
good point.
Typically it's contingent on appraisal and inspection.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is you don't want to burn all your bullets, because the home buying, the negotiation does become an emotional process, and you don't want to overstress at the beginning where, well, this knob needs to be fixed and there's a scratch in this door, and you don't want to do all that because if you like it enough to make the offer on it, you want to address the big critical things that have to do with your desire for the house. But then after that, you're still going to have an appraisal. You're still going to have a home inspection. And at that point, you may find out things that you didn't know that are critical things that do need to be negotiated later.
Mm-hmm.
So if you burned up all that negotiating energy right away, what do you have left for the seller's tolerance to give you what you need on some of these things you might find out later?
Exactly. All right. Well, we are coming to the end of the show here. Jim's kicking us off.
Well, fancy that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're back here next week, right, Joe?
The end of Purple Rain.
It's end of Purple Rain.
End of Purple Rain.
Okay. Dave Floor, Jim Walsh in studio, and Joe still out there searching for the lowest
man
interest
is a
rates.
Prince. What can I tell you?
He's a prince.
He's
He's
prince.
down in South Dakota today. So anyway, have a good week, everybody. We will see you next week on the Dakota Housing Network.